So far you have a good view. All right, thanks everybody. Thank you for coming in this really sloppy weather. I'm glad you guys aren't in your gardens, which is a good excuse to come to our museum today. So anyway, this is our, what garden is it, the fourth?
Fourth.
The fourth of the ongoing series, Finding Home of the Cortes Island Experience. And it's been a really neat sort of journey to discover people's personal stories and to make these connections in our community, which is the focus. And so I'm the managing director of the museum, and welcome everybody. If you haven't already, please sign the guest book when you come in. It really helps with our numbers. And we always welcome donations if you can, so really appreciate that. And we, at the end of the session today, we'll have coffee and tea, decaf coffee, and tea, and some cookies, so you guys can hang out and socialize some more and get to know Peter sort of one-to-one. So, and I would say, just thank you, Brian, for initiating this program. It's been really great. And thank you, Peter, for being our fourth guest today. So I will turn it over to you.
Okay, thank you very much.
I'm just going to turn the heat down
Okay.
a little bit.
Yeah, I can do it. Yeah.
Can we tweak this light, or shall I?
Yes, yeah, no, here, let me. That one's right in your eyeballs, isn't it?
Yeah.
These guys on
Just turn it up. There we go.
Yeah, it's our power
There you
supply.
Thank
Oh, that's right, it's on the track,
you.
yeah.
Thank you.
And we are, just for everybody's benefit, we're recording it. The technology has changed a little bit because we're having a bit of a glitch. So it's recording right at this device. And you're welcome, of course, to ask questions throughout.
Yes, stop it.
And there'll be opportunity to ask questions at the end as well. With that, I guess I'll just turn it over to you, Peter.
Okay, I don't interrupt me at any time. I don't mind at all. Quite used to that as a teacher. Okay, so this is my home on Cortes, and this is sort of the story of how I found it. And people keep saying, how did you end up on Cortes coming from Montreal? And the answer is serendipity. It was almost by accident. It was almost by accident. So, okay. Why not moving here? Okay. So this is where I taught in Montreal. This used to be the Agricultural College of McGill University and their education department. And shortly before we started our college in 1970, it began in 70, opened in 71, they moved their education department to the downtown campus. So they had all this empty space. And at that time in Quebec, they were creating a new education system called the Cégep system, Collège d'enseignement général et professionnel. They didn't have enough places in the universities, and they didn't have technical schools. So what they did was they took grade 12 away from the high schools and first year university away from the universities and created this 2-year program. So we had students who did 2 years, that's the general part of it, pre-university, and then we had 3-year tech programs too. So in my college we trained nurses, dental hygienists, police officers, aircraft maintenance, and a whole raft of technical programs, and those were 3-year programs. And yes?
Sorry, when you first said that, did you say that's an agricultural?
It was.
Oh.
It was. It was funded by, this takes us back in history, by McDonald Tobacco. Remember they made Export A and that one? Okay, so the Stewart family actually funded this campus, and that's why you have Italian tiles everywhere, because that's what Mr. Stewart wanted. And he was paying, so he got what he wanted. So it's quite an interesting set of buildings in that respect, quite unusual.
Yeah.
And when we grew and renovated, we were required actually to continue basically in the same style. So we ended up importing tiles from Italy for the roofs and stuff like that. It's just crazy. Anyway, so it gradually became a rather large campus.
Wow.
You can see how big it is. When I started in 1971, we had 1,100 students. And in my department, the English department, we had 11 teachers. Okay? By the time I left in 2006, I retired at the age of 60, we were up to 5,000 students, and my department had 42 members. Yeah. So, and I looked it up yesterday. Their student population right now is 6,000 day students and 2,100 continuing education students. So it's become enormous. And it's an English-speaking college. It's a English mother tongue college. So this is where I taught for 35 years. I was there on the opening day when I was 26. And I stayed there for 35 years. Interestingly, this is also where I met my wife, because she went back to school at the age of 50 to our adult learners program, and she took some aptitude tests, and they told her she should be in the fine arts department. And that's what she did. And I was an adopted member of fine arts. My friend Lenore Krantz taught art history, and she and I had organized several trips to Italy. So Catherine actually came on the last of the trips to Italy, as did my son. But she was married and I was married. How it happened after that, I'll tell you. But anyway, but she actually grew up here. This is the high school she went to here, Mac High.
Oh my God.
She went to this high school, and she lived about a 10-minute walk away on Pacific Avenue. Yeah, before her family moved to the other town, another town called Hudson. So as I say, I started off there in 1971. Classes were small. I had classes of 23 or 24 students.
Wow.
It was brilliant. By the time I finished, we had classes of 35 to 40. Whole different ball game. So as I say, I stayed here very happily for 35 years. When I was about to reach the age of 60, there was no advantage to staying on at all financially. You couldn't, my pension topped out, and you couldn't increase it by staying. And besides, I was done.
Yes.
I love teaching. I've been chair of my department 3 times, but the teaching was the best part, and I loved it. But it was time to move on. And I had other interests. I was an adopted member of outdoor ed as well as the fine arts department. So twice every year I went canoeing or hiking or backpacking. I was part of a backpacking group on the Appalachian Trail. So I was ready to do other things. And Catherine was 9 years older than me, so she was certainly waiting for me to retire. She'd been a car dealer and then a trout fish farmer. Yeah, okay. So that's where it is. And
Peter,
yes.
Peter, those two that look like bookmarks just on the very front.
Here?
And are they dorms or?
They were dorms.
Yeah.
Yeah, this one still is.
Okay.
This is the Stewart building, and it's a dorm. This building over here used to be the men's dorm, and each of them had a swimming pool.
Wow.
By the way, yeah. When I first started teaching there, I used the pool, and we used to play volleyball with the staff from McDonald College
Oh.
in the Cortes here. But this is now the continuing education department.
And what is that really tall thing on the right at the back? What is that?
This? That's the new science building.
Oh wow.
It was built after I left. It's top of the line. It's named after Marianne Edwards, who was one of the young women that was slaughtered at the Polytechnique in Montreal by André Lepine. And she had been a John Abbott student, a very wonderful John Abbott student. So they named it in her honor.
Nice.
Yeah. The building I taught in, I had my office in, is this building here. That's called Hochelaga, that particular building. Yeah.
Nice campus.
It's a lovely campus. I used to drive out to the country every day because I lived in Montreal. And then in the last few years, because Catherine wanted the car, I would take the train out. It was wonderful. I loved it. Take the train and then walk 10 minutes onto the campus. And I was the scheduler, so I got to choose when I taught in the mornings. So as I say, we were looking for somewhere to move to. We knew we wanted to come west. For quite a few years, we had been actually coming out to visit my parents. After my brother died in a plane crash in California, a small plane crash, my parents moved back to Canada permanently. They used to spend 6 months a year in Pismo Beach in Central California. They sold up their big house trailer there. And so Catherine and I started visiting them in the summers and at Christmas time. And we got to borrow their 68 Volkswagen Beetle, a brilliant car, brilliant car. Yeah. And So we didn't know where we wanted to be. My father died of a stroke, so it was just my mom. And we knew we wanted to be out here, but we didn't want to be too close to my mom for various reasons. And we started looking basically in the Courtenay-Comox, Cumberland area. We even went so far as to go to the Royal Bank in Courtenay to talk about mortgages and stuff. Yes.
What year is this?
That would, when we were really sort of set on coming here, 2003, 2004. What we would do in the summer or at Christmas time was drive around and have a look at different places. Yeah.
What was the house price in 2003 in Cumberland?
I don't know. I can tell you that we went in as like to talk mortgage. We didn't have a house in mind at that particular point, so I don't know. But I do know that WestJet had just come in and house prices went booming. We talked to one realtor and she was grinning from ear to ear. She said they'd been waiting for this to happen because all of a sudden they would be in big business. Yeah. So we went to the bank and the guy was amazed. We had no debts, whatever. Not even a car loan or no, sorry. So anyway, he quoted us the price and we went out to the parking lot and we looked at each other and we said, yeah, but if we do that, we can't do anything else. Because we were apartment dwellers. We didn't have a house to sell. So we didn't know quite what we were going to do. Oh, there's John Abbott. So we were down in Victoria, and this is our friend David Williams. Let me just backtrack a little bit. He owns my house. I'm that unusual creature on Cortes, a full-time renter, and have done since 2006. When I first got here, people kept saying, are you planning to stay? Because we didn't buy anything. Okay, so when we were looking and touring, we knew that David had a place here on Cortes. And so we were doing a circle tour. We were going up to Port Hardy to take the ferry up the Inside Passage to Prince Rupert, cross the Skeena River, and then to come down through Canal and Barkerville and so on and so forth. And as we were driving up from Victoria, Catherine said, why don't we go and look at David's place on Cortes? So we phoned him up to get some directions. We came over on the Nimkish, and it was a gorgeous day. I remember looking at those mountains as you come across from Harriet Bay. It's astonishing. And so we found the cabin. He just said, basically, just keep turning right once you get off the ferry. And that's what you do to get to Milstead Road. You just keep turning right. And we knocked on the door. And the house was occupied by subletters at that point, and it was a bunch of young people from the Linnea program, and the house was a disaster. Believe me, it was a disaster. The property was totally overgrown. You would think that people who were taking a program in agriculture would want to have a decent garden. No, it was complete. There were bed sheets on the windows, mattresses on the floor. It was just awful. By that time, we were too late to get the ferry back, so we ended up staying up in those rooms above the Gorge store, and they were pretty ratty at that particular time. Yeah, so they put us up there and then, pointed us in the direction of a fridge for breakfast, and off we went on our trip, thinking, oh, okay. And as we drove around, one of the questions on the sheet here is, what was your first impression of Cortes? And the answer is weird. I mean, you drive around Cortes and what do you find? You find driveways. Long driveways. And you keep saying, well, where the heck are the people? So you come to Manson's or whatever and you find a few people. So basically the first impression is very strange. So off we went on our trip. And in 2004, that was I can't remember when that was. It was either early 2004 or 2003. We went sailing with David down in Oak Bay. He had a boat at that time. And he said, so how's the house hunt going? And we said, really awful, actually, David. We've been looking around. We've been looking in the Courtenay-Comox area. We kind of like, Cumberland was a lot cheaper at that time, not anymore. And he said, so why don't you rent my house on Cortes? And we said, okay. And that, folks, was it. That's how it happened. That's how it happened.
Did you have some trepidation after having seen?
Well, he said, I know it's a mess right now,
Yeah.
but I'll be going up there next summer. That was the summer of 2006.
Yeah.
I'll be spending a couple of months up there staying in the cabin, and I will fix everything up. We will, and he and his wife Pat painted everything. So by the time we actually got here, it was in really terrific shape. So anyway, so we went back to Montreal and packed up. We have a friend named Anthony, who had a company that did kiosks for industrial shows. So he had a huge workspace. He said, and he moved stuff all over North America for these, golf shows and ski shows. And he said, don't go with a moving company. He said, I'm going to build you 2 crates, 4x4x8 plywood with 2x4 backing on them. He said, I'll come down to the apartment building with a truck and we'll load everything up. And that's what we did. I loaded everything in these 2 crates, and the rest went to, actually, they had a place in my apartment building where you could leave stuff. And there was a retired cop in the building who said, there's a Chinese family coming in next month and they'll have nothing. Can I put this aside for them? So that's what happened. So anyway, I retired in June. My official retirement date was June the 15th, but I was free to go before that. We packed up the car, drove across the country, camping, and we took at that time it was okay to go to the States. So we actually went through Wisconsin, Minnesota, and then came up through the Dakotas into Canada. It was a wonderful trip. And there was hardly anybody in the campgrounds. It was really quite delightful. That was when Catherine still liked camping. So we ended up getting here to my mom's in June, late June. And because we were from Quebec, we needed to do certain legal things because they still go on the Napoleonic Civil Code in Quebec. So it's quite different from the rest of Canada. So we needed new wills and all that sort of stuff, and driver's licenses and everything like that. So we spent the month of June fixing all that stuff up and staying with my mom. And we arrived on Cortes right at the end of July. And our stuff came over from Campbell River on a flatbed. And the guy said, what is in these things? I said, you help me open them and you'll find out. And they did. They actually stayed. We just unscrewed the sides, pulled everything out.
And the dimensions are 8 feet.
4x4x8, 2 crates.
That's 2 cords of wood.
Yeah, basically. Yeah, exactly, yeah. So, there was a couch, there were 6 dining room chairs, and then boxes of various stuff. We really did slim down in terms of what we owned. It was a useful process. I've since accumulated a bunch of stuff, but that's the way it goes. So as I say, David was crucial. Now, how did I know David? Well, when my parents, I grew up in Saskatchewan. My teen years were in Saskatchewan. When my parents retired, they moved to Salt Spring Island. They owned a house on Salt Spring near Walker Hook. My mom didn't like it on Salt Spring. She didn't like being tied to the ferries, so they moved to Saanich. When they were on Salt Spring Island, David's parents were my parents' neighbors. So I've known David's family, and he was the acquisitions librarian at Simon Fraser University and decided to throw it all up and go back to the land. So he went to Salt Spring Island near Walker Hook. He had a small farm. You can tell what the era was. It was called Rivendell from The Hobbit. He raised sheep. He built a cabin, no plumbing, external toilets, the whole thing, and he raised kids there. Okay, so anyway, so I've known David and his family, Margaret and Alan, for a long, long time, so it wasn't too surprising that he should offer me his house. So as I say, we arrived at the end of July 2006. And I want to tell you one other thing about coming to Cortes. The year before, one of our Montreal friends, Inga Lawson, took an Alaska cruise. And at that time, the Alaska cruise ships actually stopped in Campbell River. So while they were there, Frank Curtis and Victoria, I can't remember Victoria's last name, went on board and sold a bunch of these calendars. And they ran out, so Inga suggested they go and get some more, which they did. And she mailed us one of these. And she said, these are going to be your neighbors. So if any of you have not seen the calendar, I have a couple you can take a look at.
And we are.
Hmm?
I was going to say, and we are.
Yeah.
I happen to be in there.
You happen to be there, and you're right there. I recognize quite a few behinds here.
This was a fundraiser for the health.
For the health center.
And
We raised
the
50.
calendar raised $30,000.
Yeah, that's right, and went through 2 editions. I have 2. Yeah. So that was our introduction to Cortes before we even got here. So we knew this was going to be an interesting place. That's the point.
You know some of the funny lines I've heard on Cortes?
Okay.
Out of the nudist speech? It's like,
Yeah.
I don't recognize you with your clothes on. It's Katie. It's 35 years, man.
Yeah. Well, as I say, I know who most of these people are. Yeah. Because, so, the house at that time, I want you to imagine what the house was like. This is the side view of the house. This was completely overgrown when we arrived. Blackberry brambles, salmonberry bushes, and salal. So much so that the holly tree, which is down here in this corner, was actually being pulled to the ground by the blackberry brambles. So over the first couple of years, what I did was I actually cleared this whole area and planted some rhodos. Yeah, that was quite a job, but it was fun. I rather enjoyed it. So here I am, freshly arrived on Cortes. You can see what kind of shape the lawn was in and the bushes and so forth. So I'm out there trying to trim things back. And here's my wife, Catherine, the lady of the house. We were not married at the time. We were just partners. So this was all part of the adventure.
Was George still running the store?
He was when we arrived for the first 2 years.
Yeah.
But he was already winding things down, Sherman.
No, I got it.
Because if you wanted something, you'd have to say to him, I'm going to need, X quarts of milk or whatever. Because he was really...
Expired propane bottles, he didn't care. That's what I remember.
Yeah. No, he was definitely ready to wind it all down. And of course the post office was there too at that point. Yeah, the Whaletown post office.
And a library too.
Yes, that's right, which is still fully functional. Fully functional. They were talking about that at the last AGM of the Whaletown Community Club. So when I arrived on Cortes, 2 people were particularly important. May Sherwood, whom many of you know, and Ralph Nursall. Okay? They basically told us what we needed to do to become part of the Cortes community. May was pretty direct. It was pretty difficult to say no to May. So she got Catherine and me onto the Whaletown Community Club board that first autumn. And Catherine and I were both on the board, and later on I was on the board for many, many years until it gradually got taken over by young people, which was thrilling.
What were some of the funnier things she told you to be a member of Cortes?
Oh, well, she dragged us into, the various, there was the plant sale every spring.
Yeah.
There was the Cortes Day stuff.
Yeah.
And she had all the equipment in her house.
Yeah.
She had a sort of cubby hole in the house where all the bits and pieces that Alden built were to be found. And so we would have to go there and get all that stuff. The other thing that May did that I thought was brilliant was she brought in classical musicians.
Yes, I know.
An unbelievable program, Kamora Parker and they provided that wonderful piano that's there. One of the women who came to play tango music said it was one of the best pianos she'd ever played.
Wow.
Yeah, and they had it was donated and they had it fully renovated.
Yeah.
And it's still there. It's tucked away in a sort of large roll-in closet. Yeah. So, as I say, May got us involved in all that kind of stuff, and she kind of adopted us. We became part of the family. So, and Ralph said, you got to join the seniors club, and you need to be part of the walking group. Which we did. So I've been part of the walking group ever since. I was out on Friday with them. We're down to just a few right now because of the weather. But so joining the walking group was great, and I joined the seniors club, and I was on the board twice or maybe 3 times. I don't know, secretary for a while. And through that, I got involved in the first round of seniors housing. I painted the interior of every one of those first 6 buildings, and I painted the external boards too. And Andy Ellingson and I think, installed all the IKEA drawers.
That's a task.
Yeah, we had to learn how to do it first of all. And later on, Sue Ellingson dragooned me into being on the board again so that we could deal with BC Housing for the second round of dealing. And the first round was easy, right? I mean, the walls were all prefabbed by my neighbor, Mike Malik, and Nova Anderson. They put in the forms in most modern stuff, with the styrofoam with the wires in between and so forth. And I remember Steve Ringwood saying that when he loaned his truck to put the walls on, the fit was perfect. So that's how they were constructed. It was a wonderful process, and it was really good fun being part of it all. Second round, you groaned when you talk about dealing with BC Housing. We had to hire somebody to act as an intermediary between us and BC Housing. And Sue Ellingson lied. She said, it'll just be a couple of meetings. It was like every week. Zoom conferences and whatever, but it got done. Yeah, and then, they wanted the insulation to be of the highest quality. They had certain standards for the electrical work and so on and so forth. And then the budget didn't quite fit what they were demanding.
Do you remember what the square footage cost those places came out at?
I don't remember.
You
No.
don't want to know.
I don't want to know. All I know is that the only way we could get in under budget was by putting 2 of the houses together, side by side.
I'm just getting rid of the SRD.
Yeah. So I entirely understand why Rainbow Ridge has had a devil of a time dealing with BC Housing and been turned down 3 times now, I think it is. And in a way, they're going to be wiser to just proceed by themselves, not to deal with that. So, and I think as a result of these 2 folks, Catherine and I both ended up being really involved in the Cortes community. And if you want to know, I think that's the secret to success for living on Cortes, is to get involved. And we did. We did. We had a wonderful time. So that's a picture from the first of our deck parties. Every July 31st, since we got here, we had a deck party. And it was usually a pretty big affair, eh, Nancy?
Yep.
And we're still having them. Okay, we had to stop during COVID, of course, and Catherine died in the meantime. But it's happening this year, July the 31st. And since you're a relatively small group, I can invite you all.
That's great.
Yeah. Okay. So I have a few pictures from. There were a lot of fun times too. There's Ralph and his wife Mary, and Diane and Carol, and so all neighbors from the area.
What year was that first picture you showed us?
The first ones?
The one just before this.
Same year as this one.
Okay.
That would be 2007.
Okay.
2007, the first anniversary of our arrival on Cortes.
Okay.
Yeah. We've done it ever since. So there's May and her daughter Susan. You'd hardly recognize Susan, now has white hair.
Don't we all?
Don't we all? Exactly, I know. I had hair. And there were horseshoes. So there's Jillian and my stepdaughter Heather and Callie Waddell. Okay. Now the other important group in my life at that time was the walking group. Every year we had 2 major parties. We had a July the 1st party down at Smelt Bay. And then, you can see we're dressed for warmth here, at the end of the season, after the tourists went home, we had a Take Back the Island party. And this is one of the Take Back the Island parties.
Yeah.
So there's my wife Catherine and the rest of the gang you may or may not know. Callie Waddell, and Ray, always being the clown, decided he just had to get in there one way or another. And there's the guys.
Yeah.
Okay, and we partied. I was talking to Janet Turpin and Lynn Barker at the co-op the other day over coffee, and in those first years we had some brilliant times. We were young and energetic, and if you were a member of the Gorge, I think it cost $30 to rent the hall for an evening. So this was a Valentine's Day dance, and it was a costume dance, and we had done ballroom dancing. One of our winter occupations there was ballroom dancing, because Mike Hoskin taught, his parents were professional dancers. He taught ballroom dancing, and on Sunday afternoons for I think it was 3 winters, we would go over there in the afternoon, do some ballroom dancing, have some nibbles and some wine and whatever, and so we were all actually able to dance.
You didn't make it down to the Carrington Rave by chance, though?
No.
Okay.
No, I haven't been down there for that. So this is Alan Campbell. This was during the Harper era, and he was violently opposed to Mr. Harper, and so he did his Mr. Canada thing, and on the back it said no Harper. It was Harper with a slash mark through it. So that was his costume. The most spectacular costume was Lynn Barker. She had this brilliant costume, and there's Janet.
Wow.
So it was quite an evening. And Mike Hoskin, the 3-legged detective. And there's Catherine. Okay, so we had a lot of activities. We did New Year's Eve parties, alternating with Manson's. I remember the first one here. It was at Manson's, and we were having a good time. And then they rolled up the carpets at 10 o'clock.
Yeah.
We thought, what the hell's going on here? This is New Year's Eve. But yeah, and so the following year, Catherine and I did the New Year's Eve party at the Gorge. So we didn't start till 7:30 at night, and we kept people up through midnight. We had May Sherwood dancing on the stage at midnight.
Yay.
It only happened once, but it was also Ray Grout's birthday. So every time we did that, I had made, you had print out the letters on your computer. I'd got a big happy birthday thing for Ray on the back. And we had a party for people who got their first OAS checks, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wasn't me, that was Ray.
It was Ray. I know it was Ray. About 5 of us, I think.
Yeah.
So New Year's Eve parties, of course the Christmas Bazaar. Alan Campbell was the one who used to make the chili for the Christmas Bazaar at Whaletown until he died. I've taken it over. One of the things that Catherine organized here was a Cortes Island chili cook-off over at Squirrel Cove. And in order for it to be anonymous, you served somebody else's chili at the occasion. And I won! Yeah. No cheating. So there were occasions when we worked at the hall. This is in the kitchen at the Gorge Hall. That's Truda.
Oh my God.
Absolutely, yeah.
She was such a soul.
She was still really active when we arrived. I used to walk from my house over to the Gorge Hall to do a physical exercise class with Truda. She did a physical exercise class. So Debbie Stetch was involved in that, and Jill Milton, about 4 or 5 of us. She was
I miss her bakery.
oh yeah.
I used to bring her 7 dozen eggs a week.
Wow.
And that's a German bakery.
Yeah, well, absolutely. I mean, yeah. And I mean, when you bought a cake from her, it was
yeah,
absolutely amazing. Particularly the chocolate cakes.
Do you remember Sedley?
Yes, I only met Sedley once.
They were characters.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
And the story of how they met, that's pretty cool.
Okay. That's by the way, that's something I regularly do at dinner parties when I've not met people before, is how did you meet?
Yeah.
Okay. So Catherine and I met after the Italy trip. We were down in New York City. We'd gone to a jazz club down in the Greenwich Village, Arthur's Arthur's Tavern, and I walked her home. She was staying with friends rather than with the group. And we held hands, and I kissed her in the lobby, and the rest is history. It was brilliant. Yeah. So one of the things we did here was in 2010, we decided to get married. And we had an enormous party for that occasion. I mean, God, I don't know how many people showed. I think we had food for 90 people.
Wow.
Yeah, because we got the food done here on the island. And the woman who did the cooking, and I can't remember her name, she's the one who died when her bicycle went off the road over near Linnea.
Lisa John.
That's right. And she did a brilliant job for us for that wedding. Yeah. So that's Catherine and me at our wedding. And afterwards, cutting the cake.
Wow, fancy cake.
It was quite the cake, yeah. It was quite the cake.
Nice. In shorts, I see you're in shorts.
We changed out of our wedding gear. It was a really hot afternoon, and I had long pants on, and Catherine had a jacket with a top, and it was just crazy. So the first thing we did was change.
Did you ever get to meet Kay Bowes?
Yes,
She was a
I
character.
did. She was a character, yeah. Yeah, and I still talk to Peter Jackal all the time.
Yeah.
I really like Peter.
He's,
Yeah.
yeah, but to know Kay when she was more coherent, she had some stories.
What did
She
she?
was married to the
Ye-
minister that went up and down.
Yeah, well, that's right. He ran the Anglican mission boat, didn't he?
Yeah.
I understand he ran it on the rocks even once.
Oh,
Yeah.
But no, I made her 93rd birthday cake. Remember that? She wanted a
Okay.
cartoon cake.
Yeah. And she's, of course, in the calendar.
Yeah, totally.
She's sitting drinking tea at a table in Callie Waddell's garden. Yeah.
Yeah.
So she was sort of almost out of the picture at that point, but I did meet her. Yeah.
What a person to have up here to tell Cortes stories.
Oh, Lordy.
God,
Yeah. Yeah. And she was a pistol.
That's right.
So here was one of our entertainment gigs. We had 18 people for Christmas dinner one year
Nice.
in our little house.
Wow.
And we served 5 courses. And we did it all. It was not potluck. That was definitely a one-off, believe me. we started off with mussels and then went on from there. So we used to entertain a little bit more than is the case now. 18 people for Christmas dinner. Okay. Since then, Catherine died in 2021. She was diagnosed with stage 3A lung cancer, and she was beginning to slip into dementia. So when she was diagnosed with the cancer, she opted not to undergo treatment. And I think that was the best thing we could possibly have done. Pat Peterson, the nurse practitioner here for a while, was nurse practitioner over on Quadra then. We followed her there. And she said to us, the best thing you can do is apply for MAID. And we did. She said, even if you don't use it, you got it in your back pocket. So Catherine had a medically assisted death. And it was just fine. But before she died, one of my granddaughter Robin's friends came up from Victoria and took a whole bunch of pictures, which I can hardly look at actually.
Yeah.
You know, you can already see that Catherine's vivacity is beginning to fade and so forth. But so this is kind of a farewell to Catherine. This is her daughter Heather, with whom I traveled to Europe last year. I have a stepdaughter who's 66, and granddaughters who are between 35 and 41, because Catherine was older than me and she had her kids early.
Where's the picture? Where else smell like?
It's right down at Smelt Bay at sunset. Yeah. And this is, that one is, does me in every time. Does me in every time. But that was part of being on Cortes too. That we came here, we got married, we did all sorts of stuff together, we traveled in Europe 2 or 3 times. We went to France and Italy a couple of times. Before we came here, we went to Britain and every time we went for 2 months.
Nice.
It seemed like, you know, if you're going to spend that much money to get to Europe, you might as well stay for a while. So last year, Heather in the previous picture had been coming up every summer from Barbados, which is where she lives now. And 2 years ago, I realized that she had never been anywhere in BC except to Cortes. So she and I took off for 3 weeks into the interior and discovered that we traveled well together. So she and I went to Europe together. She'd never been. So we spent 2 months in France and Italy, September, October last year. Okay. And that was kind of a legacy, I thought. I paid for Heather to go.
What was the interior trip? Where did you go?
Oh,
First trip?
we went up through Whistler, took Highway 90 over to Lillooet,
Nice.
and stayed at, it's that really dusty town.
Cash Creek.
Yeah, Cash Creek. It's an appalling place to stay.
There's serious history in that place.
Yeah,
It
and
wasn't always that way.
we spent a lot of the evening we were there talking to the fire crews
Yeah.
because they were busy fighting a fire in the Fraser Valley at that point.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they were dusty and dirty and,
Yeah.
you know.
But that town in its day had water fumes. The Chinese grew agricultural stuff.
Really?
Yeah, my
Wow.
heritage of my family was transporting by caribou stagecoach. Not stagecoach, but carts, basically,
Yeah.
produce to Vancouver. You
Okay.
can still find the old flumes around Cash Creek. The soil there will grow anything if it has water.
If it has
So the
water.
Chinese- when you're out in the bush there, you'll see.
Yeah, because all there is the little creek running through the town at the moment.
Yeah, no, they grew everything.
Oh,
there.
wow. Yeah. Had we known, we would have turned left instead of right when we got to
Yeah.
Lillooet, because there are some nicer places up the road. But that's the way we went.
Yeah, they diverted water from the Bonaparte River.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
And we got to see that deep gorge that's up there too.
Mhm.
That it's like the it's like the Grand Canyon.
Yeah, they say that it's deeper. actually.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it's just a cutout. It's an amazing place. I didn't know about it, but it was Lynn from here
Yeah.
who told me. She said, if you're going up that way, it's off the road. You got to go see it.
Wow.
Anyway, so at the end of COVID, we did have another deck party. And my granddaughter Robin, who is where the heck is she? Oh, there she is. She's the tall one. She brought all her friends up from Victoria, and they camped all over the property.
Nice.
And everybody we knew here on Cortes came, so we had a memorial deck party for Catherine. And that's part of my history here too.
Yeah.
That was in 2021. She died in 2022. She died in January 2021. So that was a brilliant party with dogs.
Yeah.
Robin and her gang came and stayed for a week. And they cooked. One of them even brought a portable pizza oven that ran off propane. So that's sort of it in terms of my experience on Cortes. I have to say that after Catherine's death, I'm awfully glad I was here because the community was so supportive, so supportive. And I have to say that during COVID too, the walking group were great. We kept on walking. We spaced. We sat outside 6 feet apart, but we never stopped. And nobody in the walking group got COVID. It was really quite remarkable. Yeah. And most of us had the shots. One person did not. She refused point blank. But nobody got COVID. Yeah.
That's great.
It was wonderful.
Yeah.
So I think this is an amazing community. Catherine died 4 years ago, and I'm still here. I must say my center of gravity is beginning to shift a little bit because Robin, who lives down in Victoria, she lives in Esquimalt, has a 10-month-old little boy, my great-grandson. Can you believe? Yeah, I have 3 great-grandchildren because of Catherine. It's all her fault. And but they love it here on Cortes. So I was saying to you, as soon as I get my City West fiber optic hooked up on Monday, I'm due to get hooked up on Monday, Robin can come here and work.
Nice.
Because she's a psychologist and all her work is done on Zoom. And she and her partner absolutely adore it here. And Lee has been here as well, a very tiny baby. So as I say, I'm back and forth a little bit more than I used to be, but Cortes is still home.
Nice.
Cortes is still home for whatever. I don't know how long.
Well, thank you for sharing.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
Anyway, are there any more questions? I'm open to anything.
Any questions?
So it's been a miraculous journey.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's another part of the story that I'm not going to get into today, but it's how I ended up. My story goes back a lot further because I grew up in Regina. We moved there from England when I was 10 years old, and so I did my high school in Regina, and then I went off and became a Jesuit seminarian. I was training to be a priest. So until just before going to John Abbott College, I was still in training to be a Jesuit priest. Decided it wasn't for me.
I think you made a good decision.
I think I did too. Would you like to see a picture of what I looked like?
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, I do actually have.
Someone on the mouth.
So that's why I have no trouble speaking in public. I was trained to preach
And teach.
and teach.
Yes. Yeah.
So there I am.
Oh, hang on.
That's-
Oh!
Wake up. Maybe it'll wake up.
Damn.
Wiggle your mouse. Hey,
Oh,
yeah.
we can see the mouse.
Yeah.
See the mouse.
Yeah, we can see the pointer anyways.
All right, let me see if
Oh.
Oh,
Something just.
Just a minute, I gotta get this thing to play, is what I gotta do. Oh, no.
There you go.
Can't do it, you can come up and have a look.
Yeah.
I was a really handsome devil.
The Whaletown Church was still going when you were there then.
Pardon?
The Whaletown Church was still a thing then.
No, it wasn't. No, but it was still in pretty good shape.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Because,
You could
you
go-
know, a lot of people would go down and take a look at it.
Oh, yeah.
And I think there was somebody who used to come over at Christmas time. Yeah, and
They used to do a Christmas carol.
Yeah. yeah,
Kay Bose used to go in there.
Did she?
Because she isn't.
Yeah.
How she lived in that big house.
yeah, she lived in what's the old clinic, they call it, yeah, or did call it, yeah. Yeah.
Well, thank you very much, Peter. That was
You are most
very, very
welcome.
entertaining.
It was actually kind of fun. Because, and thank you for asking me, because it kind of made me think about the whole process of getting here and why it is I've grown to love Cortes.
yeah.
That's wonderful.
So thank you very much.
Yeah.
All right, and of course, as Melanie was saying earlier, there's refreshments, hang around, share stories, talk to Peter, look at his old picture. And thank you all for coming.
See
And
it on the screen.
we're going to skip April because of the installation that's going to be happening in April. So we'll be picking it up again in May. And I've got a few people who I've talked to, but if any of you are interested in sharing your stories, please give Melanie a call or give me a call, and I'd love to add you to our roster. So thanks again all for coming, and we'll be back in shortly.
Even sooner than